Marketing is a means to an end. And the end is the growth of the business in a profitable way.
We have 5 new pieces of creative. And so I said, what if we did this?
No bidding strategy is going to cure a bad business model.
Very true. This is where it's really crazy. Man, just love that intro song.
Every single time. Gives me goosebumps. You know?
Yeah. I want that just for like my life soundtrack. Like when I walk in the room, it's like dun, 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 and it's like when I go to Dunkin' Donuts or something. Yeah.
You should be playing it like let's just get that. You just play it on your phone.
Right. I'll just keep my pocket. I'm like, that's just my life soundtrack. Okay.
Yeah, this is how I roll.
That's not even real.
We're also working on. I don't know if you realize this, but we are working on a sizzle reel for when we have a Zoom meeting in Tier 11. So when somebody's in the waiting room waiting for us, it like does this loop of like all our coolest stuff.
That's actually a really great idea.
A great idea.
We should do marketing. That's a great idea.
We should do marketing. Yeah. How about that? No, our creative team is amazing.
Yeah. Well, and that's literally what we're talking about today. I mean, yes, our creative team is amazing, but it's about creative.
Yeah. Which is my segue. That was my segue right into it.
It's perfect.
So, now, a lot of people don't know what the Andromeda update is, by the way. I'm finding this I'm getting confused looks when I talk about it on discovery calls because I'm basically doing all the sales right now with Amy. She's starting to take over. But the point is like before we get into the stuff today, just like from your perception, what has happened? How has this changed? What has been the big change? All of that. And we call it Andromeda, but it's hard to find. Like if you Google it, it's kind of secretive, it seems like.
You know what's funny is it's weird. Meta did this extremely quietly. And I spoke, there's a VC firm I'm attached to. That's actually it's outside of the VC firm that I'm with now. It was actually from an old client / partner that has joined a new VC firm. And long story short, we were talking to some of their teams because I'm brought in as a consultant. And when I enter into a situation, I try not to be like threatening. Like I do have a good name in the industry, and I'm like, hey, I'm just here to help. Right. And so a lot of times I'll hear from teams that are like an ivory tower agency when they're like, when I'm like, hey, do you guys know like if the account switched over to Andromeda? And they're like, hey, what's Andromeda? So I explain what Andromeda is. I'm like, well, John, they're like, right? They're like, John, is this even mentioned anywhere in Meta? I think Meta should have done sort of like, an announcement on it. And funny enough, like if we back in December 2nd, 2024, and I'm sharing screen. Is it live? I'm on my laptop. Sorry. So this is, I'm like, yeah, it's engineering at Meta, supercharging advanced post automation with the next level, personalized ads retrieval engine. I'm like, there's a lot of information about it out there. It is hard to find, but it is real. So a lot of people will look at me like, oh, here's, John trying to trick everybody and act all smart and everything. I'm like, it's live. It's just, it wasn't public. And I understand why, because what they're trying to do is force advertisers to be good educators and engagers again, rather than just running sale ads. So what Andromeda is essentially creative targeting. And that is extremely hard to grasp because for the last decade at least, we dictated targeting. No one else did. The media buyer, the strategist, the person like pressing the buttons inside of Google and Meta and etc. So Andromeda essentially takes AI and interprets what you're trying to portray in your ad as a value proposition or whatever it may be. And it says, thank you for this ad. I believe this person should see it. Now we get to give suggestions. We get to say, hey, we believe, this ad should go there. And Meta's like, that's a good idea. Thank you. I'll take that into consideration. And they will go and do whatever they believe is best. Yep. So the Andromeda update of the ad retrieval engine using AI to find its audiences, long story short, just means it's up to us to produce the best diversified content in order to achieve like the most perfect sales pitch and place that in front of Meta's AI so that it can go find the user for us. They have not published how, they have not published why, they have not published the best, standard operating procedures. They do not publish the details because they do not want us reverse engineering. I have a direct line to the Meta engineers that are working with Andromeda through a client of mine. And so I've been able to pick the brain of the people that are developing this at a very high degree. And I do that once a week. So what's funny is we can believe this or not, but I am trying to lead by example. And that's what we're doing today. Is we're talking about the creative category test that I'm running and what this is, and how this is helping us achieve our target, both in platform, top line, new subscribers, etc. Because there are a lot of deniers, naysayers. Like I've always been the tinfoil hat guy, and I will forever be the tinfoil hat guy because most of the time I'm first. I am first to find, first to test, first to market, first to share. But it is more like but that seems hard new, and my meta rep didn't tell me that, and that's okay. If we sort of have a choose your own path model as us advertisers. There's no college for this. So I think what we're trying to educate the industry for free, you're welcome, is how we do this to the best of our ability and what models you can follow so that you can level up your game. And the people who choose to deny and kind of ignore this will be left behind, period. And that started last month. So I think that's the biggest thing that we have to look at is creative is doing the targeting, and it's up to you to produce the creative. And technical media buying didn't get harder or easier. It is just drastically changed. And it has gotten easier in terms of structure, way harder in terms of optimization. And that's what we're trying to clarify for everyone now.
Well, there's an interesting article in The Verge that came out a few weeks ago. Well, actually, it was back in late May, I believe. And they did mention in not so many words the Andromeda update, but Zuckerberg's intent for this. Mm-hmm. And it's not just necessarily to make the job of the media buyer better. It's to get rid of the media buyer. So that was their interpretation of this. Now, we've been hearing this for years and years now. Finally, we're at a point where, they're getting closer to a certain degree. However, there is a human element in all of this that still is going to require us. But it's going to allow us, a lot of these changes are just going to allow the singular media buyer to be that much more effective. And from a time perspective, as an agency owner, I'm pretty excited about that. I told our director of ops, or our VP of ops, I ain't hiring any more media buyers.
Right.
We aren't really. Maybe in some specialties we will, but we can double our size and not add any headcount, literally, at this point in time. Maybe another growth strategist, maybe another CSO, that kind of thing. So the point is this is coming. And yes, we are giving away all this information here for free, but it's still foreign to everyone. I was in a huge PI law practice yesterday. They're like, Ralph, what's the biggest thing right now in digital marketing? I was like, Andromeda. They're like, what? They didn't even know. And they spend $50 million a year on digital. And this is their head of digital didn't even know. So it's coming, it's here, but it's working, which is great. And that's why we're doing the show here today.
Yeah. And as funny as there really isn't a lot that you will, I guess I would say is a lot of people that I know learn through feeds. And if no one is talking about this, people don't learn. I find that very odd. But it is the way that we just are training, even how we're running ads. But even in here, this is even AI's innovation and Meta's ad ranking driving advertiser platform performance. They even show how you give bulk. It sorts the giant library of your ads, how it actually is doing ad creative, personalized ad retrieval, locking users into ad set and showing them repetitive ads for ad candidates. They explain how all this works. It's out there, it's public, and it's been there since March. Yeah. This is not something that is haha, John made up a new word just to confuse people. No, it's in a bad sense. It's not my fault you didn't know.
We told you.
I know. I'm like, we go live on Friday. We're like, here's what to do. And they're like, no. It's like,
no,
really?
I want to do it the old way. I want to separate out my levels of traffic like the old e-com ad amplifier, level 1 through 5. No, it doesn't work that way anymore.
Right. And so I'm just going to kind of dive right in if you're with this.
I'm good.
Yeah, and I hope that and I'm gonna stop sharing because I'm in an Airbnb Wi-Fi. So my apologies, everyone. But this is the data that you're coming to see is not my face. It's the screen.
Yeah, I might have to shut off too. For some reason, everything's very janky today on my side. Yeah. But anyway, we'll keep going. The show must go on.
Exactly, and I hope everyone really just wants to see the data. That's all they want. Then the good advertisers will be interested in this, and the bad advertisers will not see my face to hate. So I'm happy here. So here's a test that we ran the last 7 days, and the top line results are the same ad spend. Went 70 grand week 1 and 70 grand week 2. I mean, it was 1.21% difference. There is no difference in ad spend. Mm-hmm. Now we dropped our NCAC by 25%. So our cost per purchase went from 282 down to 213.
Oh boy.
And this right now is done purely with creative. And what we did, and this will be very, very simple for most users to understand, is obviously we're using the Andromeda model of one ad set, one campaign for our objective that we're trying to achieve in this target. And we typically, and this is for, since December, we have typically only ran UGC ads. That worked very, very well up to a point where we're kind of stuck at $250,000 a month spend. Yep. And we want to level up to at least, $500,000 spend. So we have UGCs. These are people's dogs. Obviously, we're talking about pet health and wellness and immunity and digestive and everything. So we basically tell the story of all of our dogs. And you can see there's just UGC. Yeah. I mean, they're just UGC everywhere.
Shot with an iPhone.
What's that?
Shot with an iPhone. Like, this is not high-end creative, but like it's working, obviously.
Right.
So, go ahead.
Again, it's like, I don't really care that I'm using an iPhone rather than a DSLR for the picture of a warrior here, So that's Warrior. What's nice is exactly Warrior is a cool dog, but we're running UGC. And what we notice is something like this: spend, down 74%, spend up 777, then down 56%, then spend 38 up, then up 291. I mean, you're seeing bouncing around of UGC, and this makes sense with Andromeda. Why? Because this is all of the same ad type. The same ad type is simply going to cycle through variations of the creative, because if UGC can do the targeting, not all UGC will be able to all do the targeting for all users. That is not possible. It is trying to find
that again.
Yes. All ads being only UGC will not use all UGC ads to put in ad spend to do all of the targeting for all of the users. And what
UGC ain't going to work on everybody is what you're saying.
Yeah, and it cannot be the only thing that expands. So it will get you to a point. You can take a founder story and build a healthy $2,000 a day in good sales. Can you make it to 3,000? Maybe. Can you make it to 4,000? Maybe. It's your glass ceiling is set by you, the advertiser, based on how much creative diversification you're willing to place into the engine to find the users who are not resonating with UGC. Yep. And that is the ceiling that we have placed upon ourselves with content diversification. And that is right even in Meta's literature. So that
sending the link to that article, because I think it's a great one. I haven't even actually seen that yet. Hopefully it'll send.
Oh, yep. I'll be able to send it over to you. And I have a few ones.
I got it.
Yep. Cool. Yep. And so what this tells us to do is we look at the 9, and I'm so sorry. I was trying to get it on my phone, but it just did not work as on my stupid Wi-Fi. But I tried to get it as soon as I hopped on. But there are 9 different types of content diversifications. We've shared it a few times before. It's, us versus them, founder story, face to camera, UGC. Then, there's 9 different categories. We've been using UGC for a year, and it's actually been working really well until we found out, hey, that's a great content type, but what about everything else? We're like, well, that's a really good point. So I'm working on a model that we will be sharing in the next coming weeks, which is what I believe to be the best model to move into, but I won't share it yet because it's not done. And I like to lead by example. Theories are a dime a dozen. Anybody can come up with an idea, but to prove it with scale and ad spend to $100,000 is where the people that walk the walk or talk the talk can also walk the walk. So I will share that once that's done and scaled, but we are doing it in this account, and you're starting to see the initial results of that. And what I'll share with you is the beginning of the model. Now, here's what I'm talking about. This is something called Sid Delivers More. This is actually a us versus them. This is one of those content diversifications that Meta is asking us secretly to produce because it's only in like closed circles. We exposed what those 10 categories were, remove the AI ad because that's just an optimization, but there's 9 main ones, and this is one of those.
Yeah.
This is our us versus them. Our one bottle will give you more active mushrooms, more white turmeric, more vitamin C, more milk thistle at a cost of $65, where our competitors are going to have, you're going to have to buy a turmeric bottle, a milk thistle, a vitamin C, an active mushroom, and individually it will cost you $195. So what this is trying to show is the us versus them. I wish I can get this bigger. I'm on my little laptop. Anyway, let's see if I can, well, hopefully that gives you a good understanding of what that is.
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
That'll be good enough. There we are. That looks a little better. So now you're looking at and say, okay, us versus them. And them is the industry. Don't buy from anybody else in the industry. We've already made it easy for you to understand why you should buy from us rather than anyone else in the industry. This is us versus everyone else. Yeah. We place that in the ad, and our normal cost per result in this campaign is $213. This is getting a $148. And we can even see as soon as we add it in, it's starting to scale 163% in its ad spend in the last 7 days. We added about 10 days ago. So this is going from $395 to $1,000 a week. The cost obviously was $79 because it was really good, but as you double and triple things, they start to go up. But it's leveling off at a level that is still like $65 cheaper than everything else in here. And it is increasing my cost required first time or it's increasing our new customers by 40% this week. So we see that the us versus them immediately doesn't bounce around spend. It scales. Meta is giving the ad spend to this ad on its own. Why? Because it is a different piece of content in our diversification. We went from UGC, now we have UGC us versus them. Like, okay, so now we have us versus them. Now let's say, what if we did a product feature?
Which is fascinating, by the way. Just pausing right there just to see the fact that, I mean, we were all talking about, how Meta has invested so heavily into AI, and obviously AI is the algorithm. It's the same thing. It's machine learning, or however you want to do it. The point is like they recognize that this is a different piece of creative that can be additive to other individuals who may have already interacted with one of your other UGC ads, and so it's allocating more spend towards it. And obviously, the results are what the results are here, which are pretty astounding. So.
Exactly. Now, 2 weeks before that, we added a different piece of content. It was a product feature ad. Yep. So now in our repertoire, we have UGC, we have us versus them, we have product feature. And I wanted to wait 2 weeks to share this because we've already established that UGC ads will bounce around and spend, which is a media buyer's nightmare when things are going up and down 50 and 100%.
You're playing whack-a-mole in the old model.
You're playing. Yeah. And I hope it did well this week. Everyone is your optimization. Let's cross our fingers. That's what we're hoping for. And that is a bad way to scale.
Right.
So 2 weeks ago on July 4th, we added this ad that was a product feature ad. It is our immune defense that works vet strength formula. And we basically didn't take it us versus them. We just said us. So this is us and this is our product. And we have a slideshow of the active ingredients. We have all of the information about, this product. This is our first test. What if we just feature one of our products? We added that 2 weeks ago, and look at the bouncing of ad spend. It has changed $18, $36.02 to $35.83. Now, This is not bouncing around between different us versus them. Why? Or sorry, between different product highlights. Why? Because it's the only one that's there. So it has stable spend. Now, what's the result of this? Well, we went from 133 compared to 282. Now it's down to $100, and it is about a little bit less than half the cost to acquired first-time customer with stable spends and optimizing the CPA, actually optimizing the NCAC, because this is first click CAPI imports on NC, which is new customers.
Exactly.
And this ad here is now delivering us a fantastic result where we
look at the impression, look at the like 100,000 impressions versus some of the other ones. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, no, and that's good. And so we say, okay, excellent. I want immune new customers. So it says we have 45 sales. And 35 of them are new customers, and those 35 are immune new customers. Fantastic. It's exactly what I want you to do. I can still get the 11 returning customers. That will never stop. Meta will always attempt, try, push, and figure out how to go warm. First click CAPI imports will shift it back into the right direction, even against its will. We have bonked the AI over the head with a club, and we're dragging it to the area we want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is doing is providing us with a reduction of 30% in new customer cost per acquisition for the same exact cost that we have been spending the week before. And we are optimizing this for even a reduction of 23% week over week.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how introducing a high quality content diversification strategy into the Andromeda is allowing us to reach more users at a better cost per acquisition, because we've given it more ammunition in its repertoire to go find the users we want that we're not resonating with just a picture of a dog.
Right. Brilliant.
And so it's
and you've really only content diversified into like now you're in 3 total out of the 10 that we know that you intercepted in, that we have shared here a few times, but we know this and you don't out there. But anyway, we'll be talking about this a little bit more. The point is like the algorithm it shows it's just so smart. It knows, it literally knows more about you than the NSA knows about you. If you are in this particular niche, if you are, am I actively looking? Do I have a dog? Do I like where in the middle? Like it knows like how deep you are in the funnel by sort of creating that for you, and by diversifying creative, say, oh well, maybe they'll actually do this person, John, who is thinking about it and has seen one of my other UGC ads. Maybe what I can get them to convert is this new ad that's clearly different. It's an us versus them, or maybe it's just a feature benefit one. So the algorithm just knows, and this is the difference between how we used to do things in the past. We would shut off all the crappy ads. Now, I did notice that you had a few of the ads that had the higher CPA, the higher NCAC. Some of them were turned off. Okay. But the point is like, this is a new way of media buying.
Oh, it's a whole new way. Absolutely.
It's a whole new thing. And we've seen it all the way through. I remember like the only thing that you would do is you would create, 30 ad sets under, 3 campaigns, all kinds of different targeting. And then you would only put in like a max, maybe 4 or 5 ads in each ad set. That's all out the window. Completely out the window at this point.
It is. And what's interesting about this too, is when we're looking at what to do, when, where, and how, and why, we're now in an area where it's like, okay, I understand the content diversification. I understand that I need to have some different variations of each category running at the same time. So we're testing and iterating. But the next thing I was asked typically is, well, how do I know when to shut things off? And how do I know what's working and what's not? And how do I trust the attribution? Or just what's the next step now? You're adding in, and I understand, but now how do I optimize and how do I shut off? We are seeing that because Meta is using a piece of creative for the targeting, if you have 10, if you have too many of them, it will actually test and simply start doing that for you.
Mm.
So what we're seeing is that we have two kind of golden rules in now our removal of creative that we have actually been able to pre-plan and prepare for us to not be found in this whoopsie daisy type of scenario over here, which is inefficiencies. And I'll explain what I mean.
Yep.
If I give 10 pieces of UGC to a ad set, I have failed as soon as I start. Because
well, hey, wait a second. You put in like 30 in here and scaled up to 250K per month, and that's been so you were doing something right.
Yes, until the plateau started to actually work down.
Okay.
So we hit a ceiling, and then we started to see this, and things started to fall apart. Like we built the plane, and it was flying in midair, and then all of a sudden, like the wing cracked, and the windshield flew off, and the tail flew. Oh, yeah. So we couldn't live up there for a second.
The pilot's drunk, everybody. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Like, what's that rattling noise? Like, that's exactly what starts going on. So what we've figured out is that if we add 10, yes, things will work inefficiently if I just give it enough money. But if we would have known what we knew before, hindsight's obviously 2020. If we were to start off on a different foot where we wouldn't have to put 10 pieces in there where things are just doing this, like, okay, those are working, these are working, now those are working, now these aren't working, and these are working, but why isn't that working? We were chasing our tail, not understanding why. Right. Now, there's two golden rules that we have now that are following is if the CPA is too high above where we want it to be, and this is very important, and Meta is starting to ignore / reduce spend on that ad, we should shut it off. And it is becoming clear as day. Yeah. The reason why you don't want to do one or the other is because if you have an ad with high ad spend and high CPA, that's okay. That could be your founder story. Not a lot of people are going to be converting on the founder story. But if you have multiple founder stories, or multiple UGCs, or you pushed into too hard into one category, you start to see something that looks like this. And I'll share screen. Let me know when
the lawn guy just showed up, so hopefully the audio isn't too horrible. Right. Showing your screen.
Perfect. This, you can see that the amount spent on this one ad called Donna started off with $5,000 per day. And then very rapidly went from 5,000 to 2,500 to 1,500 to 824, and then down to $73. Why? Well, the average CPA was 510. The best we got a conversion at was 250. The worst we got conversion at was $1,266 from new customer. Mm-hmm. So it pushed in ad spend very hard. Yep. It found out that they are not converting and are way more expensive than the other UGCs in this campaign, and decided to ignore it for other ads. Right. So what is interesting is now we give 2-3 UGCs to Meta. Meta says, thank you very much. I will try to see what I can do with this compared to everything else. It is not working very well. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off for you. I'm going to start to ignore it for you.
So what I used to do is just spend continuously.
Exactly. But now with the creative doing the targeting, and it would spend continuously sometimes because we were in an ABO environment. Right. And I still see a lot of people in the ABO environment saying, well, I'm going to force spend on it. And you absolutely can. But if Meta doesn't want you to, you're going to have bad performance, but they will take your money. Yeah. And that's the difference between letting AI optimize for who it needs to versus us ignoring it. And your mileage may vary. You may have to start off in an ABO environment just to at least get some data, whatever it may be. This isn't a golden rule to say never. The guidelines are you shouldn't. So the guidelines are if we are working in an environment where AI can leverage the content diversification for the individual funnels that each one of those pieces of categories it needs to go into, it will optimize much better. And this is something that I have floating in my brain that I have a very tough time explaining, but it does make sense when I start to kind of share this more in a situation like this. So for example, let's say we have an us versus them ad. That us versus them is middle funnel, right? That is like a middle funnel because it's like you already know about the
I'm aware of it. I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
I'll check out the competition maybe. Like it depends on how big my pain is or my dog's pain in that particular example.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like, hey, my dog is getting sick and has valley fever and is susceptible to a lot of issues and has, some issues with allergies. I really want to support their immune. Okay. So are you instantly going to go buy a, Pet Wellness Direct product? No, you know that you want an immune product, but you're still trying to figure out which one is the best. Now, if you have never heard of Pet Wellness Direct and you are looking to find out why you want to choose a certain brand or product versus another brand, you could have gotten there without ever hearing about us. So you could be looking at pet immune products on Google. You could be posting in Reddit. You could be asking a Facebook community, whatever it may be. If Meta can identify that your online activity is involved in a immune product for dogs, they may not show you the founder story. They may show you the us versus them first. That's what's important, is there are people who are ready to buy an umbrella today. Absolutely. So your shopping ad will convert a person wanting an umbrella. There also is a person standing out the rain saying, man, I really wish I wasn't wet today.
There's this thing.
Those two people exist, right?
It's like raincoat or umbrella. I'm not really sure. Maybe they don't know the umbrella exists. So
exactly, right. And so I'm using funny examples to prove a point, but there are people at the top of the funnel that you can market today that have never heard about you. There are people in the middle of the funnel that would buy from you that have never heard from you. There are people at the bottom of the funnel that need a product like yours immediately that have also never heard of you. So each ad that you add as your content diversification opens up an audience that you can target immediately without having to push through the entirety of the funnel.
Yeah.
We found our glass ceiling on UGC. What is UGC? Middle and bottom of the funnel. Choose our product because what we can do. And now a person's like, well, what the hell? Who are you? I don't even know what the product is. I see that you have a happy puppy, but I don't understand why. So that's where things like our full content diversification will educate that user. But if we can only grow so much by telling everybody, as soon as you're at this stage of your buyer's journey, we're the best. We just missed everyone before that buyer's journey stage.
And what was always interesting, whenever you use website conversions as your objective in meta ads, and this is going back to the Facebook days, is like we would always say, all right, your lookalike audience is maybe 2 million people in the US. But there's a certain subset of buyers that are converters, that are ready to buy, like they're in market. And so what would happen is this would be so common, and this does not happen now, is that you would get, you would put your ads together like old school, the old way, but then you would get this super high frequency. And you're like, oh, wait a second. There's 2 million people in this. Why is it like I'm being shown to like the same 100,000 people? Because those are the people that are only the people that are in market or ready to buy right now.
Yeah.
So our answer to that was, well, we need more top of funnel creative and then try to force the algorithm. And then Facebook would still show those ads to those same 100,000 people.
Targeting,
like,
you do that.
We do my exclusions. And then you shut off the campaign and you start again. And then the same thing happens and you're constantly chasing your tail.
Yeah.
But this is a whole new world.
Absolutely. And what Meta basically said is when you say like, man, I really wish I had an umbrella. And then Meta's like, hey, have you ever seen our umbrella that we have for sale? And you're like, like
was listening to my phone. Everybody always tells me that now. They're listening. I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm a marketer. It's awesome.
Yeah. And that's what's funny is it's like, that's a tinfoil hat thing, but I like to, I call conspiracy theories spoiler alerts.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we know that they know more.
What I always say is well, Meta's not listening. They're just buying the data from the company that has the speaker on your iPhone, or they're buying it from Apple and they're not telling anybody. So yeah, but they still are listening, 100%.
Yep. So the what's interesting about this is the content diversification allows Meta to take your product and find a user at any stage of the journey. That, if you think about it, if I have
insanely powerful.
Right. If to simplify this, my UGC gave me 1/9 of my audience.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, right. Exactly.
My 1/9 of my audience got me to $250,000 spend a month. What happens when I add 8 more?
You didn't even change your is this open targeting? I forget now.
I have no targeting, no exclusions. Yes. I have nothing. I literally just said, thank you for your default settings. I'm going to focus on creative.
It's awesome. So cool. This is like one of the best ongoing case studies. Like, I'm excited. I get that, like the hair on the back of my neck and on my back.
Right.
That's how excited.
This mole is all tingling right now.
Anything else before we get to questions? Because
the one thing I wanted to make mention just in the industry, and I think that this is everyone, and I don't even want everyone to knee-jerk reaction. I want everyone to reflect on this question. Mm-hmm. We know Google goes warm. Google has become a harder network to prospect. Demand gen, we've proven, does go warm. Performance Max, we've proven, goes warm. If you don't believe us, please just sign off this YouTube live. Like, we're not for you. We've proven this for months. Right. But what that means is that it's our job as advertisers to build an omni-channel full funnel. If you do focus on Meta, because Meta is a better, cheaper, faster prospecting engine than Google when comparing spend levels of CPMs, it just is, period. If we start here and we can replicate our success in demand gen, now we have 1 + 1 = 3, not which one's better. So yes, I'm taking approach of Meta first, but there is also a Google element that is going to follow. And we have a case study where we did 3 different products in a Meta campaign. I launched a demand gen with those same 3 products. And what was working so well in Meta literally had 10 times the performance in demand gen because of that. So there is going to be a trickle down effect, as in like the Google guys focusing on Meta. This is how to structure your omni-channel flow and why everything ties together, and efficiency is key, not versus is key. So I want to mention that, yes, we're focusing on Meta at the moment right now because this is our largest scale platform we have at our disposal across all platforms. And that is what is the tip of the spear that everything, and an email back there going, woo, following. This is Meta is going to go, you have Meta to Google to direct to organic to email to return traffic to return customers. All of these follow the larger prospecting engine, which is Meta. And if you screw this up, your rest of your funnel will be inefficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, we're really scratching the surface on this.
Oh yeah.
Which is just so much fun because it's like, there's so much more scale and runway now with this Andromeda update, and it's easier for a media buyer to manage. It just is, if it's done the right way. If you have the patience, okay, we've run into that before because time, some products take 28 days, some take 7 days, some take 90 days, so there is that, and the algorithm and the campaigns have to understand like who you're going to target, like when you first start. So there's a ramp up period, especially if you're switching all this over to Advantage Plus Sales automated. There is that, but this is the future of it all.
Yeah, and I do have to say that in the industry, we're in a situation where everyone's ego has been reset. No one is a good Meta advertiser anymore. Everything that you were good at is gone, and you have to check your ego at the door and say, I need to become a student of the engine again, because that's the only thing I've dedicated my life to is learning. And that's why I typically find things first. So it's almost like, hey, what you knew, give it a nice hug, kiss, goodbye, mourn the death, and we need to move on. But that's where we are as media buyers. It's not that the death of the media buyer, it's that the death of the media buyer that cannot adapt.
It couldn't be, that is the absolute truth. And here's the thing about this too, before we get to questions, is like, you're kind of known as the guy who like hacks the algorithm. Like, you're not doing that here. You're not coming up with some crazy tinfoil hat scheme. You're actually doing what Meta wants you to do. And like all the old way of doing things, like watch a video of me explaining the e-com ad amplifier from like 5 years ago. That is so outdated. And it made us millions and millions of dollars. Granted, however, throw it out. Doesn't work anymore.
Don't fall in love with the way you make the money. Exactly.
Absolutely. And ego is the biggest obstacle.
It's like we're talking to the guy that is right now. I was the one that basically says, hey, here's the 9 content diversification strategies. 2 weeks ago, I had nothing but UGC. We are building that, like we're building other content, but I was, the ignorant person 2 weeks ago because I didn't know. I had to figure this out for myself. And so I wasn't just like forcing an old model. I had to learn to adapt. And I think we have to look at this as in, we're not hacking the algorithm. and we are actually leveraging the algorithm. We're finding ways to pull the biggest lever for the biggest result. That's our job now.
Yep. That's what we do here inside the performance kitchen.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's get to some questions here.
Cool.
We talked for a long time, but I think it's important for people to understand. And we get now like hundreds and hundreds of we have some of our old lives, like we have like thousands of views now. So this thing is really gaining some traction.
Watching the new ones, otherwise it's gonna be like
yeah, that's right. Watch something from 6 months ago. Don't watch that one. Watch this one. All right, Stuart Little, my man. You want me to read these? You want to read them, or how do you want to do it? I'll just intro them.
Yeah, I mean, you can intro them. You can read them. That's perfect.
All right. Does going full Advantage Plus with 15 to 20 creatives work for lead gen in Meta? That's a good question.
Yes, if you are following the creative structure. So if you had 15 creatives and you had, let's just say let's just call it 16. If you had 2 of ad creatives of one category of 8 categories. So 8 categories, 2 of each, 16 ads. Absolutely, yes. We are doing that for colleges right now, and it has reduced their NCAC by about 40-ish% after we've consolidated. And now, though, we are working on the content to make it better. So even just the restructuring to Andromeda helped immensely, but that's only half the battle. The other half of the battle is producing the content to leverage that. But absolutely, I mean, 15 to 20 creatives is almost the sweet spot, because now you have an iterative A/B test for a campaign's content category.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's the same thing, really.
Yeah.
We're just using an e-commerce example here. So, okay. Great question. Zero Day has a question. Do cost controls on Facebook work the same as they do on Google? Higher bid thresholds allow for more exploration.
Yes, but now we're getting into in Meta that there are different audiences. So if you do a cost cap, you have to understand that your full funnel of ads that are targeting different users at different stages of their journey that may not be related to the other users of the other stage. What we're finding is that cost cap can work, but it is a short-term window. We are deploying cost caps during sale times or during times where we're trying to get a lot of conversions in a short window. So think about like inventory, liquidation, clearances, sales. Cost caps work great because it's like, hey, stop exploring too much, burn through this warm pipeline. If you leave them on, you're telling Google or telling Meta, stop exploring so much, burn through this warm pipeline. I've had 2 people in our school community that actually had it start to reduce lately, just because it is my belief is targeting too warm and is stopping the exploration. CPA is going to look fantastic. It just is also not really going to be able to scale. So I don't adjust my audience expansion and scale by cost caps. I use cost caps as a tactician's strategy to burn through a warm pipeline when I need to.
Okay. Makes sense. Question from El Mundo de Lolo. How do you like that? Huh?
Hey.
Sorry, is 7-day click, 1-day view attribution to optimize it? Meta, isn't 1-day click the best option, assuming it's the most incremental? Do you recommend different settings if it's big versus small investment? This is a great question.
So Andromeda actually wants us to use 7-day click, 1-day view, 1-day engage. The reason why is when all ads are in the same ad set, if you get a click from a top of funnel ad like a founder story, it's going to say, okay, now let's start to look at the us versus them, or let's do a product highlight video. Did they see the ad? Yes. Did they convert? I don't know. And that doesn't get a good signal now back to Meta. It means that Ralph clicked here. I showed him 6 ads. He bought $48,000 worth of stuff. I don't think he did, though, because I can't see that. If it can't string the first click to the last click, and that could be, a few days, weeks, months. So in 1-day click, which means if they don't click and buy today, nothing will ever work. My opinion is I have not seen a 1-day sales cycle in forever. And so I believe that you're withholding the data that Meta and Andromeda needs to learn how to target based on its creative. I don't take an approach of an in-platform attribution. In-platform attribution means nothing to me. What in-platform attribution only means is what does Meta think and see. So I need Meta to think and see everything that is actually real. So I do first click, new customer, imports. I don't care where it believes it happened as long as it's real and I can leverage it and prove it with scale from top line results.
Right. So you're using the largest window available for optimization. I mean, theoretically, like, because not everybody buys within 7 days. I mean, obviously, it's working really well for this client here in this case study. But specifically, it's like if there was a 28-day optimization window, would you use that? I guess is like, should Meta have something that's a longer time period?
You know what's interesting is Meta is still after you. Well, our source I think is also coming. Like if you're using the Pixel, then it can get a little bit too repetitive. Where it's like, hey, I just keep seeing all these return customers, and I keep attributing them. Yes, it's our approach to make sure that the data you're piping back into Google is clean, accurate, server side, and edge delivered. And those means that I've removed all the returning customers, I've removed all the junk, I've removed all the omni-channel stuff that Meta isn't actually producing for itself. So if Meta actually got the first click, the first view, the first engage view, then I will allow it to showcase that. So I've funneled only what it basically can only eat what it kills. That's how it works. And so I don't mind if it eats and kills everything as long as it's new and it's producing it. Great. That's what I want.
Right. And when we layer in Google later on in the case study, we'll see what happens over there on that side.
Yeah. Also, though, it means that if Meta got the first click, Google gets no attribution. If Google got the first click, Meta gets no attribution. So it is selected by channel too.
Yeah. Be interesting to see. John Moran, student from Spain. Hey, John. Hey. I've been running ad campaigns for fashion brands for about a month now. Started with an Andromeda style campaign for men's clothing, and the results were impressive. There's no question here, aside from just talking about your brilliance.
Awesome, man. Well, good. I'm glad it's working for you.
So this shit works, I guess, John.
Even in Spain.
Are the ads in Spanish? That's what I want to know from John Moran, student. Anyway, El Mundo de Lolo has another question. I work with an e-com where buyers are 90% women. I want to start growing the male purchases. Do you recommend Advantage Plus sales only male and push only male product creatives?
It would be interesting. I have found that the audience selection, I believe, in my opinion, is a bit of a misnomer. I have Cappy imported more results from Reel that Meta said they didn't even spend a dime on. Actually, legitimately a dime. Meaning that Meta says, hey, we've actually produced 0 ad spend to this audience. And then I upload our conversions, and a ton of those conversions were coming from the audience that said it did no spend on. So I would be concerned if we are excluding an audience when I know that audience is maybe half real or half accurate. So my opinion is, if you wanted to launch a new campaign with a small amount of ad spend and you're optimizing for the conversion of a men's product or a men's clothing or men's whatever it may be, I'm not sure exactly what the industry you're in, but if you are uploading a first click, new customer women, first click new customer men, that would be the way to pat itself on the back if it did get a men's gender of a sale. But you also want to focus on all men's creative. So you can, but don't dump a whole bunch of money in there. You're starting small, looking for areas of growth opportunity and scaling into it. But right now with creative doing the targeting, you have to use primary text of, hey guys, I'm exactly like for all the men out there, like those type of things that you want to tell AI, hey, this is where I'm going. Male figure in the ad, male product, male calling out male, optimizing for male. Yes, I don't believe that we can simply ask Meta to go somewhere because it right now, for example, it said 22 cents was spent on my existing customers last week, and I have 17 first click new existing customers in that campaign. So unless I'm buying these people for sub pennies, that data is wrong.
Yeah, makes sense. So for something that's obviously a female product, like we do a lot of beauty brands at Tier 11. So would you just take men out for that? Like if you're selling like we have 2 brand new customers, all they do is like makeup, and another one is like for women with curly hair. So how would you do the targeting? Would you take out the dudes?
I honestly, in my opinion, let me maybe pose a question even one higher level. Do I care about the gender of who's paying us?
No, I don't. I about results. I care about product being sold.
Yeah,
and, NCAC's getting hit. So yeah,
who wants to buy it for the wife, or they want to buy it for their mother, their sister, their cousin, their person in their important in their life. In my opinion, I may not care. Now, if I need to push into men, my first question is why, and if the answer is we want it, my response would be, what are you doing in product development to assist that? Marketing takes what you've done and expand upon it. If we have a brandable situation where men are not the focus, I would say, how do we make the men the focus first in terms of creative, like on the site, the products? How are we pushing into? Because all I'm going to do is take what you have here, showcase it out there, and drive more people here. So my first thing is product development as to why. But if it's like shampoo, I could care less if you're a male or female. A, because I probably can't find that data anyway. But B, I'm going to test a male ad versus a female ad, and if female ad wins, I follow the money. Period.
Yeah. Plus, some men do wear makeup. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, I will test it, but I'm not going to say like, no, we have to go to men that have this hair care, this makeup. To me, I'm gender agnostic in marketing, unfortunately.
That's right. But you're NCAC non-agnostic. You want NCAC. That's it. NCAC focus. All right, Stuart's back with another question. Very good question. I think I know the answer to this one. Does headline, primary text, and description all work as targeting?
Yes. I actually ran a test and we showcased it here. Do you remember the Father's Day ad in Vermont Glove, which is the intro style text, the non-intro style text? We did a video on this. I had a picture with no text versus another picture with no text. The only thing I did is I changed the primary text to get dad something that will last as long as your love for him versus free conditioner, Father's Day sale, 30% off, supplies limited, $10 CPMs, $6 CPMs, cheaper cost per acquisition on the lower CPM because we are using lesser sales language, but I do believe it did go colder. So absolutely, they do take that in consideration. Your video, closed captioning, which does your words and phrases, that will take into consideration. Moving images on a screen, static image on a screen, and primary text are all included in Andromeda's targeting of its algorithm.
Yeah, read that article that I dropped in the notes because it explains a lot of that. But yes, they're looking at everything. They know everything.
If your ad also has a bunch of negative reviews, it will also slow it down. It's like, this product sucks. I had to return it. This caught my hair on fire.
That's engagement, but that's bad engagement. Right. But engagement is part of this too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meta does not want to showcase bad stuff.
Right. Think about it from their perspective. They want people coming back to Meta. Like they don't want the advertising to alienate. Like they want my wife on there like 17 times a day, like she is,
Exactly.
So
teaching, engaging, interacting, not 30% off, 40% off, 50% off.
Yeah. Really just get like sale. Like nobody likes that.
I know.
So
it's just like temu.facebook.com. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Big Money 33, one of the 33 Big Money, one of the best online names ever. Do you think in GA4 retargeting campaigns should show majority users being returning user? I see in some campaigns 100% being new users.
GA4 uses its new versus returning users based on a queryable date range. So if I say, show me all the new users from last week, those are all the people that visited once that week. If they're visited the week before, they were also new users the week before. It means that if I visit once and then again in that time period, that'll be the difference between new users and returning. For example, 10 people visit in a week, 2 return, you have 80% new, 20% returning, but it's in the queryable that day range. GA4 will only give you the full if you go back to the beginning of time, but then you also have to import your UA data to append to that. So GA4 is, my opinion, the biggest dumpster fire that has ever happened in the history of digital marketing. Honestly, like Taboola was higher quality. It's insane.
Oh my God! I just saw the weekly report for a client of ours who works with another agency, and they're a big name. I won't mention their name. They use GA4 as like their reporting mechanism for their ads, and this is like $1 billion, like big performance marketing company. I won't denigrate their name, but I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, GA4 is model data, which is the reason why it takes 48 hours for you to even show what happened yesterday. That's scary.
Stuart Little, like he's becoming our star student here, I think. Stuart. John Moran's dog. John Moran's dog isn't here. I wonder what the hell? No John Moran's dog. He must be taking a nap. 2 campaigns, 1 standard shopping, 1 PMAX feed only. Standard at 150%, PMAX at 350. Standard ROAS 1, PMAX ROAS is 3. Not spending much since we only have 400 audience now. Client wants instant results. What to do? Ooh.
So, I mean, if you're doing, here's one thing I would say is that the only reason why feeder strategy was developed is if you're not using first click imports, PMax is going to attribute everything that standard shopping did. So I would have to say, what is your top line? What does that actually look like in terms of the effects? Because a lot of times you'll see half results inside of Meta and twice as good results in top line. So I won't be able to answer what you have to do to make Google look good. My typical standard operating procedure is what actually happened in the top line results from an NCAC and MER perspective. And if you need more, I would only increase the standard shopping campaign, but you may need to reduce that standard shopping campaign down to like a 30 or 40% if there's too much data-driven attribution given to PMax. So I have one campaign that I have set on a 1% TROAS, and it's one of my best campaigns because I don't need it to try to identify warm traffic. So that would be something that I would say is what I would try first.
Cool. Stuart's follow-up on that was, yes, is the lead quality good on those lead ads? You asked about lead ads for,
yes. Yeah.
Very good.
And we optimize off of HubSpot, new customer imports.
Yeah, very cool. So it's actual real data.
Bingo.
Yeah. Hello. We've got a minute left here. Hopefully we can get through these quick. And RESP, do you measure first customers with an API call a first-party client database, or is that defined by the meta attribution?
It's actually coming from first click server side that is actually cloned from the DNS from an edge tag delivered mechanism. So there's a whole, I think we did actually like I think we did a tier 11 data suite video about how all this works. So I think it was a few months ago though. Like this is where we capture them, then they come into ours, and then we have a tracking code on the site that also comes into ours, and then we check against the database to see if it's new or returning, and then it's imported. So it's much more complicated. I mean, it's just literally building like a data farm in order for us to pull from, like a physical data farm. So it's a lot more than what's available out there. We had to customize it from scratch.
Yeah, I'll put the link to Tier 11 Data Suite in the show notes here. Yes, ads are in Spanish. John Moran, student from Spain, says, excellent. eSupernova is a two-part question here. I'm using offline conversion tracking, offline purchases with payment on delivery. Does TCPA also work for this type of conversion?
Man, so I've done this with payment on delivery. Here's the issue. Maybe the payment on what Meta does for imports, and even Google does for imports, is you have a 24-hour time window from when the person converted to when you can show a conversion, and that is the like longest you can optimize for. So for example, if someone converts online and then 3 days later they have a cash payment on delivery and you import that back in, that is losing a massive amount of learning. And basically only one of those 3 days of learning is accurate. So payment on delivery, my opinion would be that if you have a conversion, I would upload the value of that conversion immediately before you would actually take on that payment. It may not have happened in real time, but you would have to upload that within a 24-hour window for the algorithm to actually see that that is a good user and not think it failed the 2-3 days later, and then find out it was right, because those next 48 hours of targeting, it's like, okay, I got a conversion. They didn't pay me money. Where else do I go? Oh, crap, the money's here. All right, let's go back. The closest you can get that time frame, the better. But yes, you can use TCPA or TROAS or even cost caps on that. You just have to show value for that immediately.
Okay, go. Time for one more question?
Yeah.
All right, Mohammed. Hey, I'm not sure how to properly check attribution for my demand gen campaigns. 95% of our customers are new, and I exclude warm audiences. Creatives are scaling in Meta and TikTok, but it's showing a very bad return on Google. I know it's working because the numbers are scaling, but how can I accurately check attribution, please? I like that he said please.
Yep. So what I've been doing inside of Demand Gen is, again, I know this is going to sound stupid, but I am doing first click customer imports. I have excluded warm audiences. I've excluded existing customers, and it's 50-50. So I have last 6 months of all website traffic, last 6 months of page and post engagers, even on the Meta accounts. I have I have all of our customers excluded back from January 2024. And the best I can get is half new, half returning customers every day. So what I'm doing is actually, when I focus on Meta to drive a lot more new customer traffic, demand gen becomes 80-20 new. It does remarket. You're asking demand gen to do something. Demand gen is literally taking your suggestion and throwing it in the trash. So we have to lead by result. We cannot lead by targeting. That's just not how paid media platforms work. It does not matter anymore, because you will get fired. The next person will come in and it will still show a good ROAS. And Google's like, as long as I tell people that I'm doing the good job, it's up to you guys to figure out why it's right and wrong. So unfortunately, Meta and Google will not eliminate the ROAS game. It's up to us to find out why those move with omnichannel spends and act accordingly. So don't focus on the exclusions. Focus on the imports as much as you can of if they got to click on Meta, or if they got to Google click on or like a visit from Meta, and we converted them, we cannot show a result, period. That was the only way I can get this at least half new customers.
Sounds good. All right. We are out of time here on the Ad Lab. Make sure that you show up early next week because we're cooking up chaos in the performance kitchen here.
Let's do it.
More chaos, the better. Thank you so much, John Moran, for your expertise and wisdom, even in a room that's it's like 17 below zero in that room. But
oh my God, I literally have the door open to the garage because it's hot out there, and now I'm warming up.
That's great. All right. We will see you all next week. Same time, same channel, 2:30 Eastern, every Friday. Cooking up chaos in the Ad Lab. Till next week.
See you later.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.